pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, I wish to announce that the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. Notices announcing the date, time, and place for this meeting were sent to all concerned individuals, associations, and sent to Union County local source in accordance with Chapter 231 of Public Law 1975. For the roll call, Mr. Mahecha? Here. Ms. Justice? Here. Mr. Hanley? Here. Mr. Gunderson? Here. Mr. Cho? Here. Vice President Kelly?
Here.
President Cohn?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. We're going to begin tonight with a couple of presentations, the mid-year goal review and the budget process.
I invite the board to. Just give me the signal. Okay. Good evening, and as we do every year, January is our presentation, mid-year presentation on the progress of our goals. This year is a little different than previous years. We are in year one of our strategic planning. Our 5-year plan, and as the board knows, we worked all of last year, 24-25, on that plan. And also a little different is we really just launched our objectives for this year in October. So I wasn't expecting to have a lot of substance to it, but when I started going through it and collecting the data, I'm really kind of proud of what the momentum we've realized already. So I'm going to take you through where we are now. And then again for the board at the end of the year, I will give a summation of how we did for the year one. So as I mentioned, the long-range goals, 5 years, strategic planning consisted of about 30 different community members, the administration, parents, teachers, and this is what we've done. We've done data collection and gap analysis to just help us develop those goals and objectives. And I'll remind you that these are the 5 categories where we created a goal for each of them, and these are the board-approved goals underneath safety and wellness. Prioritize the safety and wellness of our students and staff, to support healthy, balanced, and productive learning environments, culture and community, sustain an educational community that values and supports a culture of belonging for all stakeholders throughout the district, governance and leadership, create systems that provide opportunities for consistent feedback and collaboration with all stakeholders in an effort to support the district's mission, teaching and learning, connect educational opportunities to real world through inquiry and project-based learning that develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills, and finance and facilities, develop and implement a financial plan to address the district's facility, educational, and staffing needs. And you'll see that one reoccur in our second presentation, which is a budget presentation. Safety and wellness, year one objective. By the end of this year, we set out to collect data from students, teachers, support staff, parents, guardians, to determine root causes of trade-offs associated with stress and wellness. Topics such as screen time, school anxiety, things of that nature were talked about in our creation during strategic planning. You can see some of the things that we have accomplished already since October that we have some momentum on, and some of the ongoing things. I'd like to draw your attention to the last bullet on the bottom left, our wellness symposium. We're going to launch that again this spring. This is the second time we're doing that, and our plan is to do that every other year. And basically, we're going to have local community members and businesses come here to run parent series workshops on different topics that they would be interested to sign up and learn about. Culture and community. By June, the district set out to assemble community stakeholders to reach consensus on student behavioral expectations and be ready to implement improved communication about these expectations and positive supports and consequences. A lot of discussion around this goal for this year to be consistent with what expectations are for student behavior and our responses to that behavior. And this ties into the multi-tiered systems of support that we launched a couple of years ago, which mostly it was academic. Now we also have the other side of the column where we have research-based and proven restorative practices and such to address student behaviors at the appropriate levels. As you can see, the ongoing reviewing and expanding behavior support programs and pilots across schools, partnership with staff training to strengthen student support systems. Underneath our objective for leadership and governance, by the end of June, the district will conduct a comprehensive inventory, evaluation of its feedback mechanisms to assess their overall effectiveness and impact. Through the committee, a lot of discussion about communication, collaboration, transparency. How do we disseminate information? How do people get information from our leadership? And it wasn't just with the outside public, it was internally as well, through the various stakeholders, teachers, and employee groups. And so you'll see now as we do some of this, when out of my office for sure, from Laureen, when we send out information, you'll see a real brief survey at the bottom that says, was this helpful? You know, did you receive this message well? What could you do better? So continuing to collect. And that's typical in a year one of a 5-year plan. Start to build the foundational information so that we can make informed decisions in year 2 about our objectives and action plans. Teaching and learning, this is a good one. The district assembled a steering committee of administrators, teachers, professionals to conduct, analyze, audit of the critical thinking and problem-solving skills taught within core content areas at the secondary level. We have a lot of focus on this. We started with what is defining critical thinking and what is problem solving at the secondary level? And is it the same from classroom to classroom? So once we establish that, we're going to be able to really continue to excel and target our instruction to make sure that we are providing the rigor and the experiences that our children need to be successful. Even all the way from our assessments, taking a look at our assessments. Are we getting out of our assessments what we want? Rather than just traditionally diving into assessments on content and giving it a grade, really breaking down how we're going to deliver assessments that is aligned with the standards, our curriculum, and test and improve critical thinking. Again, finance and facilities, you'll hear more about this later on. By the end of the year, the district will create a systematic facilities maintenance and plan document, evaluate educational program needs, and review all staffing, recruitment, and retention efforts. All tied together into our finances, our facilities, we talk about this all the time through the business office. Our facilities, we have buildings that are 100 years old, and it's really important to us, and we're proud the way we were able to maintain them, because that is an educational environment for our children where they can thrive and learn the most. You take a look at this beautiful media center here as well. We take pride in our facilities, and we know it translates to outcomes for our students. So in a nutshell, that's the update. Again, just a few months in on the 5-year plan, but we're really proud of the momentum that we're realizing. Through all of my cabinet members, we meet weekly to see where we are on these updates, what new ideas pop up, and through our action plans, they're fluid. New ideas can come in at any time of the year, or they may trickle over into year 2 for a development of an action plan. And from there, we will meet with the retreat, with the administrative council at the end of the year and develop action plans for year 2, but I'll cover more of that when we do the final year summation. Any thoughts, comments from the board? I thank you. We're going to move right into Mr. Jess. You can join me. Budget. So we are accustomed to putting together presentations and being very transparent about what we do to develop our budget. It's a pretty technical process that not everybody in the public may be aware of. So I want to share with you what we do, the process, our commitment, the budget drivers, the timelines. This presentation will outline annual budget development process for Summit Public Schools by highlighting key phases, decision points, and important dates that go into the final adoption of the budget. And again, a lot of discussion about being transparent, collaboration with the board, the administration, the operations committee of the board. That's our commitment to this community, and we're going to share some of that with you now. It is becoming increasingly more challenging for school budgets today in this day and age, and that's been a trend over the last several years, and it's not just Summit. It's becoming more, things like inflation, the significant cost of services, students' needs are increasing, state and federal funding are declining and unpredictable. All of these things matter when you're putting together a budget where there's not a lot of extra. And we pride ourselves in managing all of these challenges to make sure that we are efficient, but yet we still maintain that excellence that Summit expects. And as a result of some of the past experiences, we started earlier this year. This operations committee wanted to hit the ground running right from the beginning of the year, and we have met more than we have in the past, and it's really starting to prove that we're taking these challenges head on, and we're going to be able to provide ourselves a budget that maintains the excellence in Summit Public Schools. So you see our mission statement there, and I really want to pull everything back to the mission statement. If there's one thing that all of this matters, the budget, the goals, our mission as the Summit Public Schools is to prepare all students to thrive in an evolving world. And if you really think about that, that statement's going to stand the test of time, at least for this 5-year cycle, because that's what we do every day in our outcomes. And our finance and facilities goal, develop and implement a financial plan to address the district's facility educational staffing needs. And I shared here, you can read through some of our values that we all came to consensus with when we were going through our strategic plan. So under finance and facilities, for example, appropriate furniture and equipment to meet curricular needs, development and retention of top talent, recruitment of the best educators, and retaining them. All of these things are what is important to us as a community. Again, for this goal, some of our values. You know, you can kind of see in this slide how you take those 5 different buckets where we made goals, and they're not in silos. Everything sort of plays off of each other and matters. You heard me talk about it, but here again, a little bit more detail on some of the drivers. You know, we have contractual salary obligations. Once they're negotiated, they're really negotiated for multiple years, so we are obligated to fulfill that contractual obligation. Healthcare costs, skyrocketing. I mean, that's no secret to anybody or any institution or organization. Cost of energy, the inflation, we feel it in our own homes as well. And still maintaining new initiatives like our new ELA initiative, which is going to be next year for K-2 phonics. And maintaining excellence for our facilities and the cost of special education services. And that's all services for that matter. You know, nothing's going down, everything's going up. So these are the challenges that we face when we're building our budget. One thing I do want to mention is utilizing grants and the partnerships in our community. Summit Education Foundation, over the years, I think their inception was 1994. I could be wrong, but $12 million. They are a partner in the education of our students in Summit Public Schools. Our local PTO, Boosters, Spark, SMPA, local Grants Gottesman Fund, the Summit Foundation. We've benefited from all of these organizations, their generosity and hard work. And yes, we do get federal and state grants, and we've taken advantage of them. It's our responsibility to seek out some of those opportunities to supplement the district's operating budget. And with that, I'll turn it over to Business Administrator Derek Jess.
Thank you, Superintendent Huff. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first meeting in January, and Happy New Year. So as Superintendent Huff said, that the budget process we started earlier this year so that we can hit the ground running, and through the collaboration with the members of our operations team, we've really done deep dive into every single account that we have, the drivers, why, what, where, when, and how. So our overviews from start to finish, the budget development process involves collaboration, fiscal review, account and program analysis, and investment decisions. And the collaboration is not just with the operations committee, but it's with all the administrators in the district, all of our directors, our principals, and our supervisors, because they have to submit budgets for their respective schools and departments that then come to the central administration and then ultimately to the operations committee. So the focus, the process aligns all of our student needs with our available resources, focusing on the goals that were established through the community-based strategic planning areas and that meet and exceed our standards. And the purpose is to ensure that district resources align with all of our educational priorities, as that is number one, our operational needs and our community expectations, while still adhering to all state and local guidelines and requirements. So what are our phases, right? The collaboration helps to provide a balance between the co-curricular and the curricular and the athletic needs, as well as maintaining our program and the efficiency of our spending. So October to November, school and department planning, right? The budget allocation forms, spreadsheets, and booklets are provided to all of our principals, directors, and supervisors for their review from what they have asked for currently and prior and what they think they're going to need for the following year. The schools and the departments renew all of that and the educational plans, and any questions that they have, they reach out to the superintendent, to our director of curriculum as well, to find out what the needs are going forward and how that's going to impact their schools. And then individual budget reviews are conducted between the superintendent, myself, and the assistant business administrator, and the principals and the directors individually, not in a group, right? So we meet with each individual director and principal one-on-one with those individuals to find out, why are you budgeting X? Why are you budgeting Y? What are your needs? What can you do differently? What do you know, and so forth. Then we move into December and the beginning of the new year, where we have our administrative review and we process a draft budget. So we have an ongoing review and discussion with the superintendent. So it's the superintendent, myself, and the assistant business administrator, where we really dive down into all the nitty-gritty of the budget. And that's when we start to question more so, what are people requesting? How does it affect the classroom this year? Is it going to affect the classroom next year? What did they get last year? Do they still need that same amount? Is there cause for an increase or cause for a decrease? The draft budget is prepared and we share with the superintendent, and again, we continue our review. And then the preliminary fiscal year budget is submitted to the operations committee during the month of January, where we get together and we review. We give them the opportunity to review it as well, ask questions, to formulate those questions, and then we'll meet again to go over them. And then from January to February, at the end of January, the software version 1 is released by the Department of Education. And that's all the work papers that we need to upload our district budget, with the exception of the state aid information, because that doesn't come out until February. So after we do that, we have our draft budget. We sit down with the operations committee again and we start to review more in depth, and we give them what the potential tax impact is going to be. And then we dive down on that and we have more discussions with that. What are the main drivers? How are they affecting? Were any of those drivers that we discussed in December, have they been affected in a positive way for the district or a negative way since we last met? And then state aid is released after the governor's address. Now, the governor's address is typically the last Tuesday of February. State aid is typically released the last Thursday of February. However, this year, we have a new governor who's coming into office. Typically in the past, what has happened when a new governor comes into office is they delay their address and they delay the release of state aid so that they have more time to review and get the information they need, which then puts an even bigger crunch on the district, because while they delay their release of aid, they don't delay our submission date for the budget. So our hope is that if they do delay it this year, they will give us a little bit more time to submit the budget, but that is TBD. So target areas of review: classroom instruction, curriculum and staff development, access to technology and quality programs, guidance, counseling and support, facilities management, maintenance and energy, and co-curricular. Now, take all of these things together, that's where our budget is. So in the current year, fiscal year 26 budget, classroom instruction, curriculum and staff development, access to technology, and the guidance and support. So the first four, which affect the classroom and the students directly, that represents 87.98% of our budget. That is salaries, that is benefits, that is books, supplies, professional development, technology, and professional services. Facilities management, maintenance, and energy represents 5.58% of our budget. Co-curricular athletics and clubs is coupled with transportation and district administration. That represents 3.23% of our budget, with the remaining 3.21% represented by special education. So that's where we are currently in fiscal year 26. So our timeline. Again, our finance and facilities are the major focus areas of the operations committee, which is chaired by Mr. Richard Hanley. The three members of the committee meet with myself, the superintendent, and the assistant business administrator in developing the budget and going through all the processes necessary to get to that final number for everybody. They also review maintenance and repair of the district buildings, equipment, and grounds, and we've prepared a capital plan as well, which we are fine-tuning as we speak, and that has been shared, and the updated version will be shared as well. So what do? Well, in September, we introduced early budget planning tools. It included 3-year budget models, historical expense trend analysis, which you need so that everybody can see what they actually spent in prior years and how does that couple with where they're going, and comparable district benchmarking to strengthen our future budget planning and decision making and to show where we are compared to our peers. In October, reviewed major cost drivers impacting our future budgets, including energy procurement and capital projects. We had a presentation by a company called Mantis, who we utilize for the procurement of our energy. They do a reverse auction for us, which is, in the past has gotten us favorable results. So they came in and they presented to the operations committee about where energy is going. And we have an emphasis on cost containment and long-term financial planning. In November, we reviewed our audit. Auditors came into the November meeting and presented a snapshot of where we are and how we've done in the past. They've explained our reserve balances, where our excess surplus is, what our long-term liabilities are, and reinforced the district's fiscally conservative practices for budgeting. And then we reviewed and discussed the fiscal year 27 budget calendar, where we established a framework and the timeline for the budget, which is up on our website. Had another meeting in November where we reviewed multi-year financial trends dating back to 2018 to support our long-range budget planning. In December, we had 2 meetings, and what do? We received detailed presentations on our healthcare costs. We had our health benefits broker come in and spent a lot of time with the operations committee showing them what the trends are. Our projected increase right now for fiscal year 27 is 19%. That's a big number, but when they shared with us what other districts are facing, our number is low compared to them. A couple of districts I was just informed of are anywhere from 25 to 30% increases. And those are some districts that are self-insured where they're paying the claims directly. So 19% is certainly not great news, but it's better compared to 25 and 35%. We also had a presentation from our special education director who went over special education enrollment services and what our out-of-district placement trends are and what the implications are going to be in fiscal year 27 and potentially beyond that as well. We showed a new financial reporting and budget projection format. We reorganized our revenues and our expenditures into various buckets by program and by department to support clearer budget analysis. We discussed what our reserve funds are used for and how we would like to use them going forward, and planning to utilize those over a 5 and more than 5-year plan. And then we discussed strategies to enhance our budget communications to the committee and to the public in general so that they understand exactly what goes into the budget and where we're going. So what's our timeline? Well, at our next Board of Education meeting in February, we are going to present on continued budget development. As of today, how the state calendar is set, March 5th, is when our public hearing on our tentative budget would be, contingent upon the release of state aid by the governor the last Thursday of February. So we would have at 6 p.m., we're going to have a Board of School Estimate meeting in where Superintendent Huff and myself present our tentative budget. After that, Board of School Estimate will ask some questions if they have any. After that, at 6:30, we're going to have another meeting of the Board of Education where they will discuss and then vote upon the tentative budget, which will then be submitted the next day, March 6th, to the state. March 26th, we will have another meeting on the budget, and that will be to officially approve the fiscal year 27 budget. The Board of Education will begin first at 6 p.m. and vote on the budget, and then the Board of School Estimate meeting will follow directly after for them to vote on it as well. And as you can see on the screen, there is a QR code, and that QR code will take us to the budget calendar, as was mentioned earlier, so that everybody can see exactly what our timeline has been. And that is it. So please remember that March 5th at 6 p.m. in this very room, we'll have our presentation on the tentative budget. That will be the only item that evening that we will discuss, because our regular board meeting will be 2 weeks later after that. So I thank you. I would invite the board to come back up to the table now, and if you have any questions, I would ask you to, you can ask them when you come up here. Thank you.
Are there any questions from board members on the presentation?
Before we close, Madam President, I'd like to say that we put these dates up there not just to educate the public about the process that we have to follow. We encourage you to come out and be part of this process, and you have a voice, or if there's any concerns or that you want to bring here, that's what this is all about. So those dates are important, refer to them. And I also want to say tomorrow this presentation will be placed on the website for easy access, as well as out of my office a infographic about some of this information, about the roles and responsibilities of our Operations Committee, the Board of Education, and how we're going to roll out into the March final decision and approval of the budget. So I encourage you to look at that, along with a letter from me putting everything in context about our process this year. And we hope to continue to have some additional communications leading right up to the final approval of our budget. So thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the President's announcement. So I would like to just say good evening to everyone, and Happy New Year. This is our first board meeting of 2026. In October of last year, VP Kelly and I had coffee with the parents, and we heard feedback from the parents that they wanted to have more understanding of the budget in advance, just a really better and earlier understanding. So to now kind of echo what the superintendent just said, I'd like to kind of share some information to the public so that they know when they can come out. It's very, very clear when they can come out and give us that communication. One thing that I've learned as board president is that clear communication is harder than it looks. Not because people aren't trying, but because it takes one person sharing clear information and the other taking it in. So that's why tonight, as we move into this year's budget in public budget review, I want to be really clear about when and where your attention and input will matter most in the budget process. And before I do that, I want to say that everyone involved in this budget process cares about this community and cares about our schools. People may see the choices differently, but the common thread is that everyone is trying to steer Summit in a responsible direction, both for next year and for the long run. And the fact that the residents show up and weigh in is part of what has always made Summit strong. In December, I shared an overall budget timeline, and tonight I really want to flag the moments when your input can have the greatest influence. So here are the key meetings, which were just shared, but I'm going to share them again. February 19th, the February Board of Education meeting. The Operations Committee is going to share its report on the draft budget. And if you want to shape the conversation early, this is a good time to be here at this meeting. Use the public comment time to come and ask questions, to name what matters most to you, what you value, what you worry about. On March 5th at 6 p.m., there's going to be a special public meeting of the Board of School Estimates. And this is where you'll hear very directly questions on the budget from BOEs. I encourage you to attend or watch and to listen to the discussion. And I'm going to put an offer on the table that if you have specific questions that you want raised at BOEs, email me ahead of time, and I will bring relevant questions forward. My email's on the board website, so just go to our website, you can find it. Third, later the same month, at the March board meeting, this is one of the last opportunities for strong public input before the budget is finalized. So again, come to public comment, ask your questions, share your concerns, and tell us what you hope this budget will accomplish. There's this Margaret Mead quote that gets bandied around about a small group of committed citizens changing the world. And I'll just add one observation that I've had about this quote, which is those citizens that show up, they might not be advocating for what you care about. So if you want your voice represented, you have to bring it into the room. And in the process of school budgeting, showing up does matter. If you engage at the times that we've talked about tonight, your voice is going to be heard, and we'll take your input into consideration. I want to be honest about the limits too. I can't promise that everyone will get what they want. I can't promise that every answer you receive will be 100% satisfying to you. But as a bipartisan group of Board of Education members, BOE's members, and school administration, we have the responsibility of building the budget and making recommendations. And I can promise that if you take part, your questions and perspectives will inform our work. Our goal is to finish this process with a budget that benefits our students, our staff, and our taxpayers, both in the year ahead and in the years after that. And our other goal for this process is that you understand how we got here, because you followed the process. And if you chose, you engaged in it. So, thank you for your attention, and thank you in advance for participating thoughtfully. Your involvement won't eliminate hard choices that have to be made, but it will help us make those choices better. So thank you. And with that, we will move on to Superintendent's reports.
Thank you, President Cohen. Now for the happenings in our schools and with our students. At the Primary Center, students are preparing for the annual Glow Run fundraiser, and the pre-K lottery was successfully held this morning. Families can expect the first round of progress reports for pre-K and kindergarten students early next month. Over at Brayton, our interim principal, Mrs. Nardi, introduced her core priorities of safety and happiness through recent assemblies and classroom visits. Fourth grade musicians performed an instrument demonstration for third graders, and after-school enrichment programs like chess, game design began this week. The new principal of Brayton Elementary School, Mrs. Mary Jane Custy, is scheduled to begin on February 2nd. Over at Franklin, the new year kicked off with behavior assemblies focused on the school's core motto of mutual care and respect. Fourth graders performed their first school concert, and the community is looking forward to the third annual multicultural night on January 22nd. Jefferson students are halfway to their goal and the start of a chain reaction initiative, earning links for a grit and responsibility. The school recently hosted interactive game, show assemblies, and a concert to introduce third graders to the music program. And over at Lincoln Hubbard, following a safety and conduct review, students enjoyed a magic-themed anti-bullying assembly sponsored by the PTO. Teachers are currently finishing winter benchmarking to analyze student data, and the next principal's coffee is scheduled for February 20. Rounding out the elementary schools, over at Washington, third grade students completed their annual dance residency, learning traditional dances from China, Spain, and Romania. The week concluded with successful performances for both students and parents. At the middle schoolers attended assemblies focused on respect and responsibility while the administration prepared for the upcoming fifth grade orientation on January 22nd. An SEF grant will support a staff mentoring program and an upcoming visit from the motivational speaker, David Flood. The high school was named to the AP 2025 School Honor Roll based on students' performance on last year's AP exams. That's quite an honor. Our peer leaders recently visited the 9th grade PE classes to discuss preparing for exams, reducing stress around exams, and developing good study habits. And the Astronomy Club had a physicist from Rutgers University visit Friday after school to share their research and expertise about the dark matter and other items. About 30 students attended, and they found it very informative and interesting. In the world of athletics, the girls' lacrosse crew ended winter break with a bang. Ella Ryan ran, I'm sorry, not lacrosse, I misspoke, track and field. Ella ran a 10.14 for her 3K, making her second all-time in school history and qualifying her to race the 2-mile at Nationals in March. Ayanna Samuel, Audrey Kerrigan, and Violet Becker went 1, 2, and 3 in their heat of the 600-meter, all beating their seed times. The boys ice hockey team went 1 and 2 in games against Morris Knowles, North Hunterdon, and West Essex. John Conniff led the way with 4 points. And in wrestling, Sean Singh won the Battle of the Brook tournament on Saturday. And finally, grade 4, informances are taking place across the district to recruit future musicians, while rehearsals are underway for the Matilda and the Big Fish musicals. Meanwhile, advanced theater students recently attended a Broadway masterclass, and marketing students are preparing their Shark Tank-style business pitches. Lots happening in the new year already, exciting, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent Huff. So next on our agenda, under agenda item 6A, is report of new hires by the superintendent.
Okay, as many of you know, we love having our new hires welcome to our board meeting, so they get to meet the Board of Education before formal approval, and we welcome you into our professional family. With us tonight, we will have one, Juliette de Quantos Amet, joins the Summit High School as a tenure-track English teacher, effective January 26, 2026. Juliette earned her Bachelor of Education in Secondary English from McGill University in Montreal. Her familiarity with the Summit community began during her student teaching field experiences last year, followed by her successful tenure as a leave replacement teacher since September. We are excited to welcome her into the position, and we look forward to your continued contributions.
So, shall we go ahead and have do we vote on that at this point? Okay. So do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion?
Mr. Mahecha? Yes. Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Mr. Hanley?
Yes.
Mr. Gunderson?
Yes.
Mr. Cho?
Yes.
Vice President Kelly?
Yes.
President Cohen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations. So now we're going to take a 2-minute break so that if you want to take out and not sit for the rest of the meeting, you don't have to stay. So just take a 2-minute break. Back into session. Picking up with B and C from the superintendent's report on recommendations for suspensions and HIB investigations. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second?
Any questions?
Mr. Mahecha?
Yes.
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Mr. Hanley?
Yes.
Mr. Gunderson?
Yes.
Mr. Cho?
Yes.
Vice President Kelly?
Yes.
President Cohen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next up is our student board representative report.
Hi, I'm Hadley Taylor, one of Summit High School's student council representatives. Right now, because our student body is so focused on preparing for midterms, it's been pretty quiet in school and on student council, but we're continuing to play music in the halls every Friday and overall working to keep everyone's spirits up just to ensure everything goes smoothly as we enter testing and the second semester. To give students something fun after exams, we're scheduling a Spirit Week in the second week of February for Valentine's Day. We're also continuing the Hilltopper point system. We're currently the juniors in first place, followed by the freshmen, which is a result of our winter pep rally, which was a huge success. Students participated in fun holiday-themed games and listened to amazing performances from both student bands and a teacher band, which is really cool. We're partnering closely with class councils right now to fundraise for future events. So we're doing things like partnering with businesses in town, like Tito's Burritos and Chipotle, just trying to raise money. Right now, these funds are being directed towards our semi-formal, which is for juniors and seniors at the end of January, and we're selling tickets for that this week and the beginning of next week. And we're really looking forward to that and just to be done with midterms and into the next semester. So that's all for today. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, Hadley, and good luck on midterms. Are there any additions and revisions to the agenda?
Yes, Madam President, there are 5 additions and 2 revisions. I will start with the revisions. The first revision is under Personnel, item F. The effective date should be February 17th for Emilio Torres. The second change is under Personnel, item U. The grant number should be 25203. Now for the additions. The first addition is under Finance. Under item J, we're adding a number 2, Oakno School of the Holy Child, in the amount of $17,794. We're adding item N under Finance, approval to submit the amendment to fiscal year 2026 ESEA to include the fiscal year 25 carryover. Adding item O under Finance, approval to submit the amendment to fiscal year 26 IDEA to include the fiscal year 25 carryover. And adding item P under Finance, approval of the following Gottesman Family Foundation Parenting Institute expenditures. Number 1, payment to Empowering Kids Organization for the Latino Literacy October-November Roadmap to College workshops in the amount of $2,500. The final addition is under Personnel, item V, resolved that the Summit Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, hire Russia Nasser, staff accountant, district, $90,000 prorated, effective March 20th, 2026 or sooner for the 2025-2026 school year. And I ask that you consider approving these under the respective portions of the agenda this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is committee reports, beginning with the Education and Student Activities Services Committee.
The Education and Student Activities Services Committee met on January 8th at 12 noon for 45 minutes. Committee members in attendance were Superintendent Scott Huff, Director of Curriculum Heather Rocco, board members Melanie Cohn, Lead of Justice, and myself. And we were joined by guest Ali Carvano, Supervisor of Fine, Performing, and Practical Arts. First item was Supervisor Ali Carvano providing an update on the Fine, Performing, and Practical Arts Department. There were many events across the schools in the department. There were several field trips into New York City, artist and residence workshops, and master classes with the support of the Summit Music Parents Association. One notable event was the workshop conducted by Westfield, New Jersey native Lucy Ritter, who was the drummer for the Grammy Award-winning artist Chappelle Roan. Along with the regular holiday concerts in school by the music and choral groups, several groups also performed outside of the school for the community. The Chamber Choir at the Reeves Reed Arboretum Festival of Trees, Chamber Choir and Orchestra at the Rotary Holiday Luncheon, and the newly formed LCJ SMS Community Chorus performed for Sage Elder Care in December, and also the Jazz Combo performed at the New Jersey Jazz Society. The community chorus at the middle school was funded in part by a grant award from the Peter R. Marsh Foundation. This was a nationally competitive grant given to youth music groups who offer programs for their local senior citizen community. This year was also the first time Wilson Primary Center was included in the scheduled performances by the Chamber Choir and the Back to Basics for the elementary schools. And the newly formed community chorus at the middle school, led by Ms. Bernadette Burke, is composed of students from the band and orchestra who are not able to be in the choir groups due to schedule constraints, so they meet after school once a week. Ms. Caravano also provided an update on the unified electives in the arts, photography, food, and theater, which will be semester courses offered in rotation. Overall, there's very robust participation in the music programs at both the high school and the middle school. At the high school, there are a total of 214 students. In bands, 86 students, choir, 75 students, and orchestra, 53 students. At the middle school, there's 440 student musicians. The bands have 178, choirs 140, and that number excludes the 32 in the community chorus, and the orchestra is 122. And these numbers do not include the dozens of students who also participate in the fall play and spring musicals. Second item was a strategic plan update. Superintendent Huff shared how he will provide mid-year progress updates on the strategic plan at the board meeting. And then the third and last item was an update by Director of Curriculum Heather Rocco on the January 30th professional development session for staff. This will be the second professional development session, and the first with the professional development program, Summit Collaborative, developed by Ms. Rocco. There's a catalog of courses, many new ones, incorporating feedback from staff, and the catalog is online so the staff can plan accordingly. And the program will continue for the remaining PD sessions. There are no items for board action, and the next meeting will be February 12th at 12 noon. Any questions from the board? No. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cho. Operations Committee.
Thank you, Madam President. The Operations Committee met this past month on Wednesday, January 14th. That was yesterday at 11 a.m. We met for approximately 2 hours and 5 minutes. Attending were Superintendent Scott Huff, Business Administrator Derek Jess, Assistant Business Administrator Kathy Sarno, and board members Carlos Mahecha, Eileen Kelly, and myself. First item discussed was the BA's office provided the committee an updated review of the RODS grant roof projects. The bidding of the 4 various roof projects opened today, Thursday the 15th. These 3 of the roof projects are for portions to be replaced. Approximately 15% of the Jefferson roof, Brayton roof, and the SHS roofs are to be replaced. The replacement scope at LCJ SMS is close to 100%. Therefore, the work timelines, the lengths to completion will possibly fluctuate, and they'll be impacted depending on the bids. Contractors could bid on 1 roof, 4 roofs, or something in between. So we'll determine that, and once we get the bidding completed in the next few weeks, the contractors will be selected by the business administrator. They will run it through the operations committee, and we hope to be in position to bring it to the full board for your review and approval in February. For the public, we anticipate the work to begin after the school year, and given the varying amounts of work to be completed that I just discussed, some work may or may not flow into the fall and the start of the new school year, but we'll obviously work to minimize or eliminate any classroom disruptions, as we always have. We have a pretty good track record in this, so should the work extend into September, I'm sure we're going to manage it appropriately, and you will not be seeing any disruptions. Second topic, the monthly Pomptonian food service results were presented for November and reviewed by the committee. As in the past, we ran a small profit in the month, just under $5,000. Then the conversation turned. The BA's office followed up on our requests last month, and they presented a committee a 5-year plan for the capital projects that would fall and potentially qualify under the food service reserve account. That reserve account is currently estimated at just under $700,000, and we touched on that a few months ago. Now, reflected in the 5-year capital plan presentation is an expectation that Summit High School kitchen and cafeteria facilities may require renovations in approximately 3 to 5 years, and that may be loosely expected to cost between $1 and $1.5 million. So, given parents' recent feedback on food service on both prices and choices, the committee had further discussion. We agreed in upcoming months to explore and consider how we might better promote healthy and cost-effective choices for families with students in the district, while agreeing to, 1, recognize that our district pricing impacts not only our own P&L, but also our partner Pomptonian's business profitability. So with that in mind, we've asked the business office to explore with our partner Pomptonian how we might forego certain recommended price increases for the upcoming school year, with the district therefore absorbing some of the cost pressures rather than passing them on to families and leading the district to work closer to a break-even P&L each month rather than operating at a modest profit. Now, yet to do so, the committee can see on the horizon the capital need for the SHS facilities renovations, where we are currently short about $800,000. So we're going to need to balance our views about annual pricing decisions to address both long and short-term needs. That is what pricing strategies need to do, and so we will review the business administrator's conversations and see what we might do to be able to be in position to recommend any changes in our pricing and strategies for the June review for the upcoming school year 26-27. Okay? The next, the committee reviewed the BA's draft of the various 5-year investment schedules for the other reserve accounts, the capital and the maintenance accounts. These 5-year plans are going to be instrumental and informative in future discussions around budgets and effective day-to-day management of the P&L and budget forecasting, such as the conversation we just touched on regarding the facilities and the food service. These reserve schedules are going to continue to be refined. The committee will continue to discuss them in upcoming meetings. Once ready for public consumption, the Administration Operations Committee can determine the appropriate time to present them in a more public, formalized fashion. But we were really pleased to see this progress and seeing this, the data and sharing. Then the next topic, the committee reviewed the budget communications plan for the upcoming cycle in the 26-27 district budget to be presented and hopefully approved by the BOSE in later March. Now, you obviously saw the first presentation and you heard that the superintendent will communicate that to the district. I believe, Scott, you'll be sending a letter tomorrow to district families with students in the schools, correct? Or all residents?
That is correct. We're going to send it internally through our communication channels to all families here in Summit Public Schools, and then again to the TAP.
Great. Thank you so much for clarifying that. So we reviewed that, and so you've got an update on that. The second thing we reviewed about budget communications was we now have a meeting scheduled with the City of Summit CFO, Tammy Baldwin, for next Wednesday, January 21st. The Board of Education member and Communications Committee Chair, Carlos Mejecha, will join me and resident Jim Bennett to sit down with Ms. Baldwin to explore how Summit Public Schools might better coordinate and align our own district's financial communications to residents with those already done so well by the City of Summit about their own budget components, allocations, and expense drivers. We're doing this because, to Jim's point made here a few months ago in the public comments section of our meeting, we heard him loud and clear. He said, after all, the Summit Public Schools are over 50% of the town's overall budget. So there's plenty of room to explore the potential benefits and advantages of coordinating and working together on behalf of all Summit residents. So that will begin next week. The next topic, the Business Administrator's Office presented the committee the first draft of the budget. We saw the details. The BA's office provided various levels of scenario analysis, adjusting key variables for different inputs for categories such as enrollment, healthcare, P&C insurance, energy costs, and state aid, which were touched on all tonight, to provide us the projected budget impact of each potential outcome on each variable. The administration provided their very preliminary views on the potential impact on the tax levy in each scenario, as well as their informal outline of the various contingency plans should we, A, have negative scenarios and how we might best manage to continue to provide the full array of educational and service needs that families in Summit expect, yet manage the challenging environment. But for more positive scenarios, how do we continue to support our staff and align our investments with our strategic areas of focus? So at this stage, the committee was very complimentary. We were very appreciative of the administration's efforts throughout the budget cycle, and I want to give them a shout out. They've worked tirelessly on this to deliver up to this point. They've adopted all of the postmortem steps that we outlined to the community in May, and we've all committed to improve the overall budget and communication process, given the community concerns expressed last year. So I believe, and I think my fellow board members on the committee believe, that we are well ahead of last year in our planning, and we expect this to lead to a smoother presentation and discussion period with the public and a deeper understanding of the challenges that we're facing, many of which we've provided detailed reviews as referenced again earlier tonight. Healthcare in the December meeting, energy details in October meeting. We covered the auditors and the capital reserves in the November meeting. So we've been pretty communicative, and again tonight. Lastly, I'll say, with that said, all the compliments to the administration and all the challenges we're facing, please make no mistake, it is shaping up, as Superintendent Huff said, to be yet another very difficult budget year. We are going to prioritize supporting our staff and the educational outcomes and progress for our students first and foremost. That's the priority. With those top priorities in mind, we will possibly be faced with some tough decisions. Given that insurance premiums, as mentioned earlier, are up 19% currently, or running that way for the averages. The energy expenses are up 10 to 15%, and state aid is forecasted down 5%. So unlike most of our budget, as mentioned by Derek earlier, that are tied to our collective bargaining agreement, and we have very little flexibility, these are the few largest expense areas of the budget where we can have some control and influence, but we've outlined they too are significantly impacted by external variables out of our control. So once again, this year residents can see our exogenous pressures are going to continue to drive expenses higher and above inflationary levels. Therefore, any chance of meeting the 2% cap is likely a low probability given inflation is still running close to 3% or more over the trailing 12 months. So with that, I'd like to shift for 1 second on a brief and lighter topic, and I'm going to use 1 second of airtime. I'm going to give Allison Grill some air cover. She did not push me for this, but in the last several years, she's made presentations in September or August showing where our students have gone to school. Increasingly, the University of Miami Hurricanes have gotten a pretty good allocation. So I want to give them best of luck on Monday night, but make no bones about it. If you wonder where my allegiances are, I'll be there Monday night cheering them on, and I hope, Hoosiers. All right. I'll stop there on a lighter note, and I will ask my fellow board members and committee members if there are any things we missed or things you would want to add, and then I will open it up for any questions.
I think you covered it very well, but I do also want to sincerely thank the Superintendent Huff and the entire business office, the amount of time, hours. I mean, I think every readout is, we're light if we keep it under 3 hours. And so thank you again for all your hard work, and truly appreciative of the partnership that we have this year. I think it's working really well.
Yeah. Any other questions for me? All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Hanley. Policy Committee.
The Policy Committee met on Wednesday, January 7th for 40 minutes. Let's see. In attendance from the Cabinet was Superintendent Huff, Robert Gardella, and Kathleen Murphy. Board members in attendance were Mark Gunderson, Rick Hanley, and myself. The discussion items, Policy 9100, Public Statements. The Policy Committee determined that it is best to table this policy. It is not mandatory. Policy and Regulations 1552, Sexual Harassment, Staff, new. Discussion on this mandated policy that will be moved for first read in the coming months. Policy and Regulations 7230, Gifts, Grants, and Donations. Discussions on potential internal revisions to this policy and regulation took place at this meeting. The committee has no recommendations. There's no first or second reading, and our next meeting will be Wednesday, February 11th at 9:30. Do any board members have anything to add or any questions? Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Justice. Communications Committee.
Thank you, Ms. President. The Communications Committee met on January 6th for 27 minutes. Committee members in attendance are board members Mark Gunderson, Ms. Eileen Kelly, myself, Superintendent Scott Huff, and Cabinet member Ms. Lorraine Dickinson. The budget communication process, the committee reviewed and discussed a draft budget process communication to be sent out in January to increase public transparency as the budget season is ramping up this month. The draft communication will also be reviewed or has been reviewed actually by the Operations Committee now before it's disseminated via website, email, and board reports and minutes. There was discussion around public communication, the public communications process for staff. Superintendent Huff confirmed that policies are in place to ensure that staff follow proper protocols for public communications. There were no committee recommendations at this time. The meeting concluded at 12:27. The next meeting, 12:27 p.m. Our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, February 3rd at 12 p.m. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maiacha. The Negotiations and Personnel Committee did not meet this month. Are there any liaison reports?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you. So we will move on to public comment.
Thank you, Madam President. Anyone wishing to speak shall first seek recognition by the presiding officer. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address in a clear, audible tone for the record. Please direct all your comments to the board president and not an individual member of the board. And please remember to conduct yourself with decorum and respect when speaking and addressing the board. Unless additional time is granted by the board president, please be respectful and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. In addition, please note that this portion of the meeting is for public comment and not meant to be a back and forth. Upon closure of public comment, information that is available to answer questions will be provided. If information is not readily available, the question will be answered by the superintendent or his designee as soon as the information is readily available.
So first, public comment on items on the agenda. All right, hearing none. Public comment on items not on the agenda. All right, so do we have a motion to close public comments?
So moved.
Second? Any conversation? I think we can move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
Agenda item 11, approval of board minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Finance, items A through P on the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mahecha? Ms. Justice? Mr. Hanley? Mr. Gunderson? Mr. Cho? Vice President Kelly?
Yes.
President Cohen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Agenda item 13, school board operation, items A through C. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mahecha? Ms. Justice? Mr. Hanley? Mr. Gunderson? Mr. Cho? Vice President Kelly?
Yes.
President Cohen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item, personnel, items A through V. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion?
Yes, I do have a couple questions. First off, just as a matter of process, why didn't this make it in the original agenda?
Because the individual that was interviewed on Monday, and we had to check references and find out if that person was actually willing to accept the job. Then the process was that person also has to meet with the superintendent, and that all happened between yesterday and today.
Thank you. Second question, is this a backfill position, replacement?
It is not. We do have somebody who's in the position currently. They are leaving mid-February, and this person will come in after that, in mid-March.
So it's retaining the same?
It is retaining the same
Okay,
position,
thank you.
correct.
And then the last question, it says a prorated amount here. What is the total amount?
So the total amount of the salary is $90,000, and that will be prorated from the day that the person starts until June 30th.
Oh, so that will be prorated?
Correct.
That's what that
Yeah,
means.
the $90,000 is
Okay.
not the prorated amount.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate the answers.
You're very welcome.
Any other discussion? Hearing none.
Mr. Mahecha? Ms. Justice? Mr. Hanley? Mr. Gunderson? Mr. Cho? Vice President Kelly?
Yes.
President Cohen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
So that leaves us with adjournment. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Any discussion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you and good evening.